Hey there everyone, welcome to an indie game show I still haven't named yet, and I'm sure I'll get to one of these days. As longtime viewers of the channel know, I love weird and creepy games. Not the jump scare, monster chasing you down the halls kind of creepy. I have a whole other show for that. I'm talking the kind of strange that makes you think, what the hell is happening right now? I love that feeling. And thankfully I played a lot of weird games over the years to fill out this intro with some great clips. But one of the best and most consistently weird is the Rusty Lake series. I cannot stress enough how much I enjoy its simple yet incredibly strange aesthetic and vibe. I'm gonna try and review it, but keep spoilers for the series to a minimum, which will be hard because anything could turn out to be a spoiler for all I know. The first game I played in the series, all the way back in 2015, was Rusty Lake Hotel, a game that kinda looked like a Newgrounds game with that muted music and muffled voice acting. It was the definition of an indie game, but something about it was so compelling, and I just had to keep playing. The basic premise, I think, is that you work at the Rusty Lake Hotel, or just showed up and they put you to work. Either way, your boss is Mr. Al, a dapper fellow, instructs you that several guests will be arriving, all of which have reasons for being there, all are staying for dinner, and you need to create wonderful memories for them. When they arrive, they too are animals. Boar, deer, pheasant, etc. Sure, it's already a strange concept for a game. That is what got me in the door. You then proceed to go around the hotel during the daytime, point and clicking your way through puzzles and escape room-esque scenarios, collecting as many ingredients as you can for that night's dinner. It all sounds fairly benign, except it's not. It gets progressively creepier and weirder and more unsettling, and oh, did I mention dinner is you serving one of the guests to the others. And that's just surface level gameplay. Underneath is a stranger, more twisted story. Is what you're seeing all an allegory? What is the strange black box? Who is this shadow figure? What does any of this mean? And then I discovered this was Game 7. Yes, that's right. This is a massive series of interconnected games with plots and stories that twist and turn through each, all of them dealing with the titular Rusty Lake and its history. Starting with the 2013 web game Samsara Room, which I guess kind of explains the graphics. It's a precursor to everything that comes next, which would be the Cube Escape games. By the time I played Rusty Lake Hotel, I believe there were 6 Cube Escape games? A series I had never heard of, but I think it's because mostly it was on mobile at the time. Either way, flew under my radar. Much like Rusty Lake Hotel, the Cube Escape games are a series of 30 minutes to 2-hour-ish games. It's basically how long it takes you to solve puzzles. In this case, inside a room that is a cube. As you do so, strange things happen, and you slowly uncover a dark and twisted story. All of these games introducing you, the player, to this strange world the devs have crafted, each game hyper-focusing on one aspect of the story, like a murder, or a detective, or a strange lake, or even a bird who witnessed all of it, and many of them featuring characters from other games. And these other games, the Rusty Lake proper series, are longer and more expansive tales that take place at different times in Rusty Lake's history. So Rusty Lake Roots, for example, takes place over the course of 75 years, but Rusty Lake Paradise is in the 1700s, while The White Door is in 1972, and Rusty Lake Hotel is in the 1800s. You're probably saying right now, Jesse, why are these dates important? You sound like you're going crazy. Well, that is the fun part of the mystery. Game A might reference a time period that we don't see until Game B, but Game B might reference a thing that we don't see till Game D. And Game D may connect to Game A, but takes place before Game C, and you can see how it is all twisted and tangled. But if you play them all, information will fill in with familiar faces and objects and names, and over time you'll start to piece together the greater story and its themes. And the big theme over all of these games is memory and changing the past and traveling back to make a wrong right. And at every turn, this strange black cube and a connection to all of the games. And it's the exact hook someone like me needs to have an investment in an MCU's worth of content. In the time since originally finding out about this series, I've watched more and more of my friends slowly discover it and become addicted to these games. I get it. It's the mystery, it's the weirdness, it's the simplicity, and the fact that they give you answers. You may not understand them all completely, but you will know more and more with every game that you play. And by now, you're probably like, damn, Jesse, you love these games. I do! For a pretty straightforward standard point-and-click series, they're engaging. A lot of point-and-click games go for visual aesthetic or cute design, but rarely are you forced not to just solve puzzles, but literally solve the story. Speaking of puzzles, the ones in this series aren't too moon logic-y, although it wouldn't be a point-and-click without one or two of those. And yes, sometimes you'll get stuck on puzzles. Lord knows I still don't understand the water jug one. You know the one from Die Hard with a Vengeance? In the park? You know that one with the water jugs? I didn't get it in the movie. I don't get it in this series. I will never get it. I just guess until I get it right. And the best selling point about all of this is that most of the games are either totally free or cheap as hell. Plus, they release with a frequency that makes telling a confusing story worth the investment as a player. Since 2015, they have released 10 Cube Escape games, now in a collection form, 4 main Rusty Lake games, re-released Samsara Room, and a new game is on the way, each getting better in quality and puzzle creation, offering new insights into this world of Rusty Lake. Sure, if I had to be that guy, it's just a point-and-click puzzle game at the end of the day. If you're not into that, if that's not your vibe, no weird story is ever going to hold your interest. Speaking of weird story, a series as involved as this one, I think might have a pretty high barrier of entry for most people due to the number of games and complex plot. Just jumping in at a random point in the franchise might be confusing. For me, this meant I had to know more, but I definitely can see how people would be turned off by spending 2 hours totally confused. It would be like watching Twin Peaks starting from episode 3. And if you do understand what's happening, many of the games can feel like only part of the story, and it can leave you wanting more. The only other thing of note, if I'm being that guy, as I mentioned before, the games seem like they'd be on Newgrounds or some other site. The quality wasn't really there at the start, and I can see how some people might take points off for that, but it's developed into this aesthetic and look and sort of creepy vibe of the game. But I have to stress, the buy-in is totally worth it if this is your jam. As they become better game devs and take bigger chances and work to broaden their creativity, especially seen in the newer games, things start to get really cool. From secret videos and codes, to receiving strange postcards in the mail, to websites where you enter passwords you found in the game, they are building out a real community of point-and-click investigators trying to solve this incredibly strange story. So if all that sounds cool to you, please, by all means, check out these games. Yes, I'm being selfish because I want more of them, but like I said, most are free, quick to play. It'll definitely make great stream fodder. There are even a few scary moments to get your chat. It's truly been a pleasure of mine to play these games, and I cannot wait to see what they come up with next. If you want to see what I come up with next, yep, that's the transition, definitely subscribe and hit the bell and like and comment and share this with your cousin Bilbo or whoever. I love doing this series. It's the most fun I've had in a while. I get to talk about games I like to play, and hopefully you like that too. More to come. Thanks again, and see y'all next time.